divine source of the universe guides my life and all my resources. All is well, all is well. The divine. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, May 7th, 2020. Oh my goodness. I can't believe the time has actually, I don't know, is it because we're inside? I don't know what it is. But anyway, welcome to our podcast, Patiently Waiting for Nothing. And this is episode number 8, right? So I am so excited that you are taking time to be with us. I know there is so much going on in cyber world. There are many people that you can choose to hang out with and listen to. So we don't take it lightly that you've come to join us. Okay? So thank you for being here. And my name is Shemsu-t, or Rita Stewart, if you know my government name, or if you want to send me a check. Either way, I actually do prefer the name Shemsu-t. I was given that name almost 30 years ago. And I was given that name by Shemsu-t. And that name means she who follows God in divine essence. So the more that you actually say the name Shemsu-t, I actually do evolve into that, because that is my destiny, to become she who follows God in divine essence. So, I might still slip up some, but, I have plenty of more years to meet that destiny. So tonight, we are actually looking at the conversation called Relax. Now, I know most of you think relaxing is about sitting around, putting your feet up and eating some buns and watching your favorite movie and all that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging that at all. However, we're going to take that a little bit deeper, so that you can really get into it. And I remember when I was writing this book, I had this feeling of anxiety. I had a knot in my stomach that was permanent, and it seemed like it would be there forever. And I had no idea that I was carrying anxiety in my gut. And I had to literally practice relaxing and letting go and releasing that tension that was in my stomach. And one day I was driving and I noticed that the knot wasn't there. I noticed that I was relaxed, and I remember telling myself, okay, remember this feeling. Remember how this feels, because this is what we want. We want this feeling. We want to feel relaxed. We want to let things just be, just like this. Well, that didn't stay long, but it kept me remembering what it's like. Now, today, I don't ever get that feeling because we know how to do some things to deal with it. So you have the privilege of listening to one of my favorite Sagittarius people in the world. She has taught me so much in the time period that I have known her, and have challenged me to always expand myself on different levels. Relana, are you there? Relana Johnson, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine. I remember some of the things we've done together in the past, and it's exciting. I think you really do influence me to keep growing in my youthfulness as I get older. And that's a good thing. Why don't you kind of tell the people about yourself and what you're up to and what you're doing and all that stuff before we get into our conversation.
Okay. Like I like to say, I'm a graphic artist by day, helping people get their message out through the beauty that is art, and also through publishing their words, putting their words on paper, so books and all that wonderful stuff. And any other time outside of me not doing my graphics, I am coaching feminine souls through how to live their best lives and live them loudly and unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
I own a company called Good Girl, which is short for Sensuality Training for Good Girls. And we are a boutique lifestyle coaching program. And we take feminine souls through a variety of coaching modalities. Some are more cerebral, some are more emotional, some are more physical. So we do moving meditation, sensual moving meditation, and we help them through relationship coaching, things of that nature.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. I love that. And I love how you're referring to feminine souls, because there's the physical side of us that could be male or female, but our soul can be feminine or masculine as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and depending on the time of day
mm-hmm.
and what we're doing. So that is really great. And you're in Chicago. Is your studio still in Chicago?
I am in Chicago. We are currently mobile.
Oh, that's right, because, oh my goodness. Right. Yeah. Everything is closed down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, that is really great. So let me ask you, how did you actually get involved with the sensuality training? I think that's really very tasty subject.
Indeed it is. So it's really an interesting and fun story. I attended a girls' night way on the north side. We like most people who've gotten into this industry over the last decade plus,
mm-hmm.
I was watching Oprah, and they had a lady on there, and she was teaching a pole dance class, and of course, we were all intrigued. We were looking for something like that here in Chicago. There was nothing at the time, but what I did locate was a sensual dance class. Now, I do have a background in dance, modern, African, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And, I've been in a couple of dance troupes, in school and all of that stuff. So I, along with a few coworkers, we all went way over to the north side to take this class. And so there was one point in the class where we were following the teacher's prompts, and I happened to be in front of several people in the class, and she called me in the front because there was all this commotion going on behind me, and I didn't know what was going on. And so the instructor called me to the front and said, "Oh my goodness, can you show us, what you just did?" And I was like, okay. And so trying very hard not to take over the class, just because, like I said, I do have this dance background, and just wanted to be respectful of another instructor's space.
Yes.
I modestly showed them everything, and ended up, the class ended. We ended up at another girls' night later on in the week, and some of the ladies who were not able to attend were like, "Well, how was the class? Show us what show us what you learned."
Right.
So we were all clowning around, and then I ended up just, doing this impromptu class. I ran to the car and went and got CDs, CDs at the time. That's how long ago this was.
Right.
And, just started teaching this class. And one of the ladies who was there, she was so excited to learn the things that we had learned. She was like, "You should really do this." And I think, I listened to her, but I didn't. I was like, "Yeah, okay." But then I ended up getting confirmation. So someone, I think maybe two more times, someone brought that up. Later on as the months progressed. And so I just ended up, really looking into it. I found a space on the South Side, a dance studio where I could teach the classes. And then because I do have this background in, advertising and graphics, marketing and all of that, I was able to put together, the brand and, kind of, put my feelers out there, and it just grew and grew and grew. And here we are, 15 years later, still going. We were actually the first female African-American owned company to bring that genre of and style of dance to the South Side, including pole fitness.
Yes.
Yes.
I took one of your pole fitness classes.
Yes, you did.
I think I was over 50 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. It was fun.
Yes, it was absolutely fun. Mm-hmm. One of the things that it does, it definitely challenges you and encourages you to stretch, to reach beyond.
Yes.
What you feel your limitations are. So it definitely encourages you to weed through what we call the BS, your belief systems,
mm-hmm.
and your limiting beliefs.
That's really great, because it puts you actually inside of your body, similar to what a Qigong or yoga class would do. And most of us, especially as women, we don't even realize how out of our bodies we are. We're not connected at all to our bodies. Mm-hmm. We give so much of ourselves away. And when you have to concentrate and breathe, yes, and pay attention to the different muscles and intricacies of your body, all of a sudden you're present.
Yes. And that is definitely something that we talk about, in the classes, getting out of your head and getting into your body.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as we dancers say, leaving it all on the floor.
Wow.
And so what that means is, leaving all of your shame, your trauma, your inhibitions, your fears, all of that, leaving it, on the floor, leaving it where it is, stripping yourself of all of those things that would hinder you from being your best sensual and sensually alive and erotically alive self.
That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Now that's not the subject we came to talk about tonight, but I just love it. And I can see that there's more for us to do with that, because really, and the fact that you're, empowering women inside of that conversation, we have to put some more attention on that. So we'll revisit that on some platform that we do together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so. I want to ask you, changing the subject, what was your personal take on reading the book Patiently Waiting for Nothing? Do you remember? Because it's probably been a while for you too.
It has been a while, but what I remembered, what stood out to me the most was the title. I initially was like, this title is so intriguing. Mm-hmm. I have to know what this book is talking about. I need to turn these pages and really dig into, what this conversation would look like, patiently waiting for nothing. And so as I was able to explore the content, I was just in awe of how much of a needed resource it is, particularly when you are seeking guidance about something. It's each subject is a quick read,
Yeah.
but it's so concise. Like it just gives you exactly what you need in that moment.
Yeah, you're right. In the moment, right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And because we find ourselves in those spaces where we are seeking a word, and
yes,
it's an excellent go-to resource for that word, because I love the way everything is broken down into like fear, prayer, relaxation, all of these different words. And then when you go to that word that is resonating with you at that time, you get this concise message that just it's like a comforting hug.
Oh, that's
on paper.
On paper. Ooh, I felt that. Yeah, like a comforting hug on paper. I remember one time I was dealing with something. I can't even remember what I was dealing with. And I called one of my sister friends, Manetti, and I said something about what I was doing. She said, "Oh, hold on, let me read you something." And she went and got my book and started reading. and I didn't realize at first that it was the book, right? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, that points to what I'm dealing with. She said, "You know where I got that from?" I said, "No, but I need to get that." She said, "Yeah, Patiently Waiting for Nothing by Shemsu-t." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I got you." So, I can hear, because the hug is real. It was like in that moment, it was what I needed. And I could sit in that message for where I was right then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was really good. And then were you able to see how you could relate to either Bobby or Miss Helen during your read? Where were you in your life in that time?
I did. I would say that I actually could relate to both of them.
Yeah.
I saw myself in Bobby as my unevolved self, and Helen as my evolved self, having been through some experiences that have added to the evolution, added to my growth. Particularly where Miss Helen, she was able to be at peace and experience joy and pleasure without needing much, and being able to thrive on the little things and embrace the little things and appreciate those little things. So, and then to be able to reach back, even though, in her mind, she didn't have much, but that was maybe on, through the lens of things, tangible things.
Yes.
And not necessarily with the intangible things. Because with the intangible things, she had a wealth of things. She had more than enough.
Yeah, that's really good.
She was able to give.
She really was giving from a full cup, wasn't she?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm actually developing the book into a screenplay. So it's so great to listen to how the coaches find these different parts of the personalities inside of Miss Helen and Bobby, And yeah, even though she had nothing materially, and she really didn't want anything, that was her choice. You could tell she could have, but she had experience in life that she could literally coach and mentor, whatever that was, someone who had abundance but could not use it.
And one of the things I really liked was how she saw she saw Bobby, and Bobby was, seemingly in distress. And rather than just jump right in, she just kind of sat there and held space for her until that moment was right, you know. And I really love that, that she intuitively knew to do that. Like,
now say some more about that, because and then even, do you remember doing that for someone, or what that felt like having to do for someone, to hold space for them?
Absolutely. Because I have experience working in a church. There have been a lot of times where I've had to do that. Even with coworkers, even with people who, their job is to pour into someone else. Sometimes the healer needs a healer. Sometimes, they need that. They need something like that, someone who can be there and just be present for them. And even members, coworkers. I mean, I could name a lot of instances. Even when I was certifying for my sexual assault awareness training and advocacy, and learning how to do hotline, and learning how to be a listener, and really listening to hear what that person is saying, rather than being ready to hit them with a barrage of resources or things like that.
Right.
And so I've learned that in those moments, how to hold space for people as they emote, as they lament, as they express themselves, rehashing, reliving, expressing, how they may have experienced some sort of trauma, even and then in the church setting, just holding space as, people may say, we may be in a meeting, for example, and they may go around the room and say, hey, are there any prayer requests, or, anything like that? And sometimes there may be a prayer request, and the subject matter may be really heavy. And so in that moment, sometimes there's nothing that can be said. You just kind of have to be silent, sit in that silence, and just hold space for that person.
Yeah.
And even I am a Tantra practitioner.
Yes.
And so, having taken several workshops, that's definitely a space where I've learned to hold space just for other people, whom I didn't necessarily know. And even in my own classes, when I'm teaching good girl classes, initially, because we were, so heavily focused on dance and on the moving meditation of it all, even though that, they would come to class for fun, there were oftentimes some moments where that person needed to express themselves. So, in doing so, that's one of those times where you sit in that silence, sit in that silent space, and you just hold space for the person who is expressing themselves.
Yeah, that is really, and I'm getting so excited, because what many of us, what we don't realize that we do, is that when people tell us that something is going on, we immediately want to fix it. Like you said, give a barrage of resources, or tell people what to do, or if I were you, I would do this. When actually, they may not need any of that right now. What they need is just the space to say, I'm hurting, or I'm sad, or whatever that is for them.
Yep.
And then when you give them that space, you'll know what to say next, right? I mean, Absolutely. It'll just show up. Wow, Girl, you just listed 10,000 things. We done did church, tantra, the hotlines.
Yes.
I love it. That's that's why I said you were one of my favorite Sagittarius on the planet, because you are doing something, in all good though. Not like it's gonna do anything to harm anyone. So tonight's conversation, we're talking about relaxing, and it's the 8th section of the book. And, it's like, how do you relax during a time when you have no money, no work? I mean, granted, some people do have work, but a lot of people don't have work. And they don't have money coming in, or they don't know. Their life feels shaken up. Is it even possible to relax during a time like this?
I would say yes.
Okay.
The evolved self would look at the situation and look for the lesson in that situation. Why is this occurring in this way? And what am I supposed to get from this? What is the takeaway from this experience? And I would say that in relaxing or in learning how to relax, I feel like sometimes the universe steps in, and the universe has a way. If it appears that you do need to relax or slow down, take a pause. The universe, if you don't do it on your own, the universe will step in.
Woo, baby.
And sit you right on down.
Sit you down for a while sometimes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happens not just even with relaxation, but just other things. And so it seems like in this moment that we are being encouraged to slow down, to relax a little bit more, take a little more time to nurture our homes, nurture our sanctuaries, nurture ourselves, to definitely engage in more self-care instead of constantly being on the go. And while it's driving some people stir crazy, there's just a lesson in all of it. Why are you seeking? Why are you self-soothing, but using the exterior? Like, why are you doing that on the outside? To utilizing others to self-soothe. And versus going inside and sitting with source and learning how to sit in that space. Why is it uncomfortable for you to sit in silence? Why is it uncomfortable or unsettling for you to just be, with by yourself? So there's a lot of things that are coming up during this time, but definitely I feel like the universe certainly has its way of letting you know when it's time to relax, and perhaps this is one of those times.
And I love that you started out with, why is this occurring in this way? Because what people mostly do, they do the, why is this happening to me? Which is more of a poor me victim attitude, right? As compared to, why is this occurring in this way? It really does give you an opportunity to do some introspection.
Absolutely.
And you get to look, and I love that you're really giving us a sense that there's a gift in this. There are gifts to slow down and take our time and nurture our home and our sanctuaries and ourselves and do self-care. I mean, it's kind of like, I think the first few days people didn't get it. Like, yeah, we're going to be sitting for a minute.
Right.
You can party for a couple of days, but after that, you really do have to go inside.
Yeah. And it definitely causes you to practice mindfulness. So if you do have limited funds, if you do have limited resources, now you have to be more mindful of your habits, your spending, the things that you do, your sources of entertainment, your budgeting. Like really, really be mindful of how you move during this time, and that's it just makes you think. It's a very cerebral time and space.
This is like evolution of adulting.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when you're moving so fast and doing so much, you just do what you have to do, but now you have to think about it. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to go out a few days. That budget that you lasted for a week or 2 weeks now has to go for 30 days or...
Yes.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's okay. Okay.
And even like if you have other people, in your space with you, just engaging on a completely different level, because now you're together all day, all the time. And so figuring out how to create space within, personal space within a space where you may have limited space because you have other people there with you. You may or may not.
Yeah, I find that when I go into an environment, if I can relax, I can literally change the whole essence of the room.
Yeah.
And that's, can you imagine people who, when they first had to realize they were going to be in quarantine for, however many days with 4 or 5 other people that they love, but they may not know these people. Mm-hmm. There could be a lot of tension, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you, there was a time in your life where you weren't so relaxed. You really had to train yourself to be inside of that conversation, and that evolved adult had to come through. What was it like before you became self-aware?
I would say that I was one of those people that I was always on the go. Being busy was, as they say, in vogue. So, it was they sleep, we grind type of mentality. Mm-hmm. And so, where people would pride themselves on not getting rest and not relaxing, because if you were relaxing, that means that you weren't taking care of your business. And even as a child, even being younger, I remember having to get up. You couldn't sleep late. Mm. So there was no sleeping in, because who are you to be sleeping in? You don't work any jobs, anything. You're a child. Like, get up. Ain't no sleeping in. And would be appalled if you slept till noon. Like, the nerve of you sleeping till noon.
Wow.
And it was just it was a thing, and not only my house, but like if I say I stayed at my grandmother's house, it was the same thing. There was no sleeping late. Like what is that? You have to get up and do stuff. Even if you're just sitting in front of the television, eating breakfast, watching cartoons, or doing chores, or in the kitchen, helping out, or something like that, or reading. But you had to do an activity, and so I took that with me, that mindset with me into my early adult years. And it wasn't until I actually started my business that I realized that this is not necessarily the way to go. Because Good Girl was so physically demanding of me, because I'm teaching movement, I had to learn how to take time for myself and to rest and, replenish and to, recalibrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned that. That's when I learned that lesson. But prior to that, it was definitely, always on the go.
And I like how you emphasize, because we sometimes we don't realize that we still conduct our lives the way that we learned in our childhood, and it may not serve us anymore.
Right.
Just because mama said, grandmama said, daddy said, auntie said, okay, that may have worked, and that doesn't mean throw everything out. But it's important to look and see, does that really fit the life and the lifestyle that I want to create now? Because I can see getting up back in the day, right? You have to get up and go do something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have been dancing all night, and then when you're dancing all night, when you come home, your adrenaline is still flowing. You can't go right to sleep. Exactly. So you have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself permission, instead of saying, okay, I got to get up at 7 because it's 7.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. And then now, so if I were to ask you on a day-to-day basis what relaxation looks like for you, what would you be able to tell me?
I would say that I teach this to my students too. I am big on pleasure. And so I believe in not denying myself things that bring me pleasure and joy. And so what that looks like is maybe when I come home from work, I turn my phone off, unless I'm playing around with my what I call my friends, my social media friends. We cracking jokes and
right.
Cutting up. That's one thing. But I may relax in front of the TV, pour myself a cocktail, and just sit in that space and catch up on my shows. Or if it's the morning and I'm getting ready for work or something like that, I try to space my day out so that I can allow myself time to just be in the morning, so that I'm not just like jumping up and starting my day, jumping up and like hopping in the shower and getting dressed and all of that. I try to allow myself time to get up, light my incense, because I'm huge on aromatherapy. Yes. And so I light incense with purpose and intention. So a lot of it's not just based on scent; it's more on what the intention is and what the healing property of it is. And so I'll light my incense and I'll just lay there for a while, looking up at the ceiling maybe, And then I'll, gradually get up, and then I make my way, to the kitchen, may fix myself something to eat or make my lunch or what have you, whatever it is I'm going to, need for later that day. And then I have been really mindful of consciously choosing what I wear. So there was a time where I was in this space where I was just dressing like I was, running around my college campus. So that was just like whatever, just throwing some stuff on because I'm an art student. So I'm just running around on campus and I don't care.
Right.
And so that has certainly evolved. And so I'm just more mindful of how I present myself and how I carry myself. And I've been really enjoying taking that time and like putting my outfits together and coordinating jewelry and my shades and hats and all these other little accessories and my perfume, my smell goods, and just really adorning myself. I feel good and just taking time to make sure that I'm doing that for myself before I leave my house and get into the hustle and bustle of things.
Wow, that is so brilliant too, because I think that we don't realize when we're doing all this, let's run, let's go, that the attention to the details that we give to ourselves is really, I mean, like you said, you adorn yourself and you put the fragrance on, and I'm kind of mindful of colors on certain days, right? So, and especially if I'm going to a meeting or something special, but that attention to detail can actually bring a sense of relaxation because you're not concerned now about how you look or what you're wearing because you're just in it.
Yes.
You're just present to it. And that's a form of relaxing too.
It absolutely is. And then even in my field, in my day field, publishing is very hustle and bustle.
Yes.
Everybody needs something ASAP.
Yes.
Everybody needs it yesterday. What's the status on this? What's the ETA on that? And so even in my space, at my desk, my cubicle, I have to create a space in a moment where I can just kind of recalibrate and replenish throughout the day. So what that looks like for me is, again, aromatherapy. I work a lot with essential oils. I'm a wellness advocate for doTERRA, and so I have all these different oils and reading up on the different properties that they, that they have, and so I have a diffuser, and so I diffuse these different scents, and of course it shifts the mood in the whole room because it's this open space. So even like if the door is open, when people come, when they're outside and they walk in, they're like, "Oh, it smells so good in here." And so for them, it's a scent. It's like air freshener. But for me, it serves a purpose. Like if I'm sluggish, I may diffuse something that's more uplifting to get really get me going. Or if I just feel like my mind is all over the place and I need to really concentrate because, we're going to press in a few hours. So we got to get this stuff to the printer and blah, blah, blah. So I need to really focus. So I may diffuse something that will allow me to focus more, to just like really settle down, buckle down and focus. And then even outside of that, I step away from my desk. And I had to learn that. That's a recent lesson. So I had to learn to step away from my desk because a lot of times, and particularly in my field, there's a challenge um, with doing that and taking that time for yourself, because again, everybody is so demanding of your time.
Yeah.
And in those moments, particularly when you're like in rush mode. And so I had to learn, especially observing other people and kind of how they moved. I'm like, why am I the only one still sitting at my desk? Why am I eating my lunch at my desk? Why am I, not, there are times throughout the day where you'll see those same people who are like leaning on you for stuff. They're not at their desk.
Right, but you are at yours, right?
But I'm at mine looking crazy. So it's like, oh no, something has to change. So, definitely taking that time to get up and walk and see some of my favorite people at work, say hey and catch up with them for a few moments, but really taking that time, utilizing that break, utilizing that lunch hour, to step away and just, catch up with people, see how they doing, say hi, or get some fresh air, take a phone call, play a game on the phone or a crossword puzzle or whatever, eat a snack, whatever it is. But just definitely taking that time and establishing that boundary. Like, nope, I can't get to that right this moment because I'm on my break. When I return from my break, I will make sure that is the first thing that I tend to. Thank you for your patience.
Exactly, right. So as a business coach, do you find that people struggle with relaxing?
Yes. And again, it's for that same reason that I mentioned, like, that it's that whole they sleep, we grind thing. Like, it's a badge of honor to be busy all the time, booked and busy and blessed somehow. And I'm like, okay, yes, there's a blessing in being booked, but I'm still trying to figure out the blessing in being so busy that you can't tend to yourself.
Yeah, and what people don't realize in doing that is that as you get older and your body starts paying for it, starts showing you, what it costs you to do that.
Absolutely.
Now all of the money and accolades you've accumulated has to go towards your health. And
right.
So you don't get the full benefit.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, what they don't know and that they come to know is that the real boss move is to be able to put people in positions to do those things.
Yeah.
And you delegate.
Yeah.
To not necessarily have to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
I know it's tempting, especially if you are, one of those fine, I'll do it myself type people. Yeah. But that's how the big bosses are able to go on those trips and be on the yachts and in the spa and all that other type of stuff, and then call in and see what you're doing, checking up on you, while you slaving away and sweating and carrying on. So it's like, no, you have to figure that out for yourself. How you can work smarter and not harder, and still yield the same successful results.
Yeah, I think what I hear you saying is that a lot of times when we work like that, when we work hard because we are the only ones that do it or can get it done, we're not demonstrating trust.
Yes.
Like there's no trust involved that the work that we're doing is going to reap a benefit. So we have to keep working until we see the benefit. But actually working like that, it means that, when does the universe get to participate? When does source get to show off? When do you get to actually see that you have an unseen partner? That kind of thing. I mean, because in business, if you grind, and I've seen the term. It reminded me of college when you used to have the dance-a-thons.
Uh-huh.
Can you dance all night? You make the most money, and it was a competition. But now you're gonna lose 2 days.
Yep.
Because physically, your body does. It really does at some point have to take on its own self-preservation, and it will shut down.
Yeah, and that self-preservation definitely shows up in the form of illness.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, when you won't sit yourself down, the universe will help you out.
Yeah. Yeah, by way of your body.
Absolutely. So it interferes with your immune system, and your mental clarity. I mean, it affects you in so many ways, and that's why it's so important, like to change the narrative of that they sleep, we grind mentality.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like, no, I'm gonna get some rest, because one, it's gonna be what it is.
Anyway.
It's gonna be what it is anyway.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And two, all that work will be there later when I return to it. Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
Great. So now let's look at. You're familiar with the Life Quadrant from the course?
Yes.
Yeah. If we were to give people some tangible things that they could use to relax, I want to categorize those inside of the MEPS. Can you do that work with me before we end?
Sure.
So I want to look at, like mentally. Okay. What are a few things that people can do to relax mentally?
Well, breath work is definitely the first and most important thing. Learning how to center yourself through breathing.
Okay.
Taking that time to just really, take those deep breaths. I would also say establishing boundaries, learning to say no to others and yes to yourself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Embracing the art, so relaxation through art. So like maybe if you color, if you draw, sketch, do that. If you're into arts and crafts, you make pot holders or t-shirts or what have you, do that.
Okay.
If you're a writer, write your poetry, or you're writing your journal. If you are a singer, even if you aren't a singer, sing that song at the top of your lungs.
Right.
Forget dancing like nobody's watching. Sing like nobody's listening.
Yes. I do it all the time.
Exactly, because there are certain songs like those duets. I sing both parts.
Okay, so mentally, breath work, setting boundaries, and then artistic expression.
Artistic expression, and I would even add to that aromatherapy.
Okay.
So those are definitely some things.
And then, so what about emotionally? What are some things that people can do to relax emotionally? Like they just are so tensed,
So emotionally, I would suggest first recognizing what your emotional stressors are, mm-hmm. and then address those solutions mm-hmm. based on that. And so, like if it's anger or restlessness or something like that, identifying what that is. And so emotionally, I would suggest, practicing mindful meditation. Mm-hmm. Focusing your attention on things that are happening, like being present mm-hmm. With yourself and being present in the moment. Also, forgiveness is another one if it's needed. Mm-hmm. To practice forgiveness. No negative self-talk. So embracing affirmations.
Yeah.
And then also to feel feelings. And
Oh,
so
yes.
sitting with whatever emotion you're experiencing in that moment. So again, going back to that mindful meditation,
Mm-hmm.
sitting with that anger, sitting with that feeling, that sadness, that grief, or whatever it is. And if it's something happy, if it's something positive, sitting in that joy, sitting in that happiness,
Mm-hmm.
basking in it. And then if it's negative, you consider the source and then you release it.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's positive, you keep it, you bask in it. If it's negative, you sit with it in that moment and then you let it go.
Oh, that's great. So emotionally, we want to name our stressors and be present to
Mm-hmm.
them. We want to do mindful meditation and forgiveness. That is so key. And actually, self forgiveness. We forget to forgive ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves, right? And
Absolutely,
then
absolutely.
affirmations and self talk, and then to feel it. That is so real. Just be with it, because a lot of times if we just let the feeling feel us,
Yeah,
it'll shift. It just
yeah,
it goes
yeah.
away. Or it actually dissipates, because now
It
it has a
does.
place. It's been acknowledged, so to speak.
Absolutely. And I had a moment like that a while back, um, where something happened, something had gone wrong, and I felt bad about
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
And it stayed with me for some reason. I couldn't shake it like I usually am able to do. And I felt so bad about this thing. I don't even remember what it was because I released it, but
Right.
I ended up going to yoga. Like I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to yoga today.
Right.
And when I went to yoga, usually the instructor will read a passage,
Mhm.
and it was just so wonderful, and how in sync everything was, because that message, that passage that was read was exactly for me.
Wow.
And one of the things that we were saying as we were doing our meditative practice before we got into the movement, was to say, I forgive myself. And I
Yes.
needed that, and I needed to call it out, and I needed to say it, and verbalize
Mhm.
it, and vocalize it. And so it was just the thing that I needed. So absolutely, it was perfect, um, for that moment, because I was able to go throughout the rest of my day. I had to go to work after that, so
Yes.
I didn't have to sit with that. I
That's
was able to
wonderful.
forgive myself and then release it.
Well, that's great, because the next thing is physical. What are the physical things that you can do to relax? And you just named
Absolutely.
one of them.
So, one of my favorite things that I suggest to people:
Hmm.
go on a pleasure hunt.
Ooh.
That is researching the things that appeal to your five senses and gives you pleasure.
Mm.
And so it allows you to be selfish, so long as you are not doing harm to self or others, but finding those things that give you pleasure. So you're pleasure mapping. You're
Ooh.
testing the waters. You're testing to see what things those are, what that looks like, what those things that bring you pleasure look like. So, for
Mm.
example, what I my other suggestion would be luxuriate, and what that would look like is maybe taking this luxurious bath. So you've got
Yes.
your nice bath salts, and like
Mm-hmm.
for me it would be a goddess bath. So you
Mm-hmm.
would have your bath salts with your infused with your essential oils. Get some herbs and botanicals in there. Light some candles. Create an awesome playlist, something that resonates to whatever space you're in. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're manifesting a beloved, have all your love songs. If you're
Mm-hmm.
just, relaxing, have all your relaxing songs. If you're getting geared up and, hyping yourself up to do something, have your hyped up playlist. Um, you could prepare a wonderful meal for yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
another way to luxuriate. Um, Plate it up nicely. Don't put it on the paper plates. Put it on the fine china. What are you
Yes.
What are you
Yes.
saving it for?
That's right.
Put that stuff on the cute plate.
Yes.
And sit and enjoy that. One of my favorite um, movies is Eat, Pray, Love. And one of
Yes.
the things that she did, that Liz did one day, she didn't go anywhere. she stayed in, and she fixed this really nice plate with all these little, things on it. And then she sat in the middle of the floor, and she just sat and savored every bite.
Yes.
And it was dolce far niente, which is Italian for the sweetness of doing nothing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so that's another thing. The other thing that you can do physically is to get moving. Mm-hmm. So like I said, to take yoga, Tai Chi, or even take a sensual dance class. Mm-hmm. Or you can just lay. Just sit, just lie still. Mm-hmm. Create a relaxing atmosphere around you. Again, with incense or candles or your oil diffuser or whatever resonates with you. Dim your lights. Go on YouTube. Find some binaural beats or something like that. Get naked. Lay on the bed and just chill.
I like to do that with the fan blowing. Oh my God.
Absolutely. It's something about like when you get out the bath or the
That's
shower,
right. Air
and then
dry.
You put your your oils on, your coconut oil, your olive oil, your shea butter, whatever your little concoction is, and you put that on your skin and anoint your skin, and then you just don't put on any coverings, just lay in that bed on those nice, wonderful, soft sheets, whatever the thread count is that's your preference. You even get a better sleep. It's something about sleeping naked. You sleep better.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So something like that. But just lay there and just let that moment lull you to sleep if need be. That's or beautiful. Again, just be, just be, just lie there and do nothing.
Well, that just be leads us to the last one, which is spiritual. What can things people do spiritually to relax?
Well, you can pray, you meditate, whatever your respective ideology is. Mm-hmm. You can do that. You can chant. One of the words that I like to use when I chant is shoo. Shoo has multiple meanings for me. Shoo could be like, shoo, go away, like I'm sweeping away negative thoughts. So shoo, fly, don't bother me.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or in a lot of other modalities, it is the principle of refraining from actions towards others that would be disagreeable if it was done to yourself. So almost a do unto others.
Yeah, the golden rule. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, golden rule. Or Shu is also the Kemetic god of light and air.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it literally means, creating an atmosphere that allows life to flourish. Wow. So Shu is just a good word all around. Shu. So, if you find yourself in a moment where, and for me, as you mentioned, I am an unapologetic Sagittarius, very much a fire sign, very much into my fire. And, sometimes I have to tone it down so I don't scorch anybody. And so in those moments when I feel those flames rising up, I just may have to say, shoo, shoo, shoo. And kind of calm those flames down. So that's a good thing. You can embrace your magical side. That's another thing that you can do in the spiritual realm. So what that looks like would be candles, burning candles that speak to specific intentions that you've set. So like blue for peace and calm, or white light, which kind of resonates with everything. Red or pink for love and romance. Maybe yellow for communication, orange for justice, that type of thing. Again, with the incense, with crystals that may resonate with you. You could even do what we often talk about within that realm, a self-love honey jar. you can make
Yes.
for yourself
Yes.
On the spiritual side.
Mm-hmm.
And set your intentions in that. Write down what your intentions are, your affirmations. Put all your fixings, your herbs, your what have you in your jar. Place it next to your candle, and then just speaking intentions into that jar to sweeten and amplify, whatever your intentions are, which is especially comes in handy with this full moon. So.
Oh yes, it does. And today is the full moon in Scorpio.
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness, you have given us so much. I love this. This is really wonderful. And I'm just gonna, when you were doing the shoe, I was like, what a beautiful dance to make to that.
Mm-hmm.
You oh my goodness, yes, just.
Yes.
Very, very cool. Oh my goodness. So I know we're winding down now, but I do want people to know what you're currently doing in life and how they can engage with you and how can they find you and all that. Can you let people know how to get in touch with you and anything you have going on that you want to tell them about?
Absolutely. I'm super excited about this time. Because it has allowed me an opportunity to really sit with the practice and curate a lot of different programs and workshops. And so a couple of the ones that I'm working on, we have one that it's basically breakup recovery. And some people may need this coming out of this
hello
quarantine.
Yes.
And so, being able to guide people through, the stages of grief as it relates to recovering from a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a program called Lola.
Okay.
That I've been curating for some time.
Mm-hmm.
Lola is short for Living Our Lives Aloud.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, like the song says, living my best life.
Yeah.
It's really guiding you through how to live your best life and how to do so unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my so in addition to those things, we have, if you're looking to manifest a beloved, we have our Erotic vision board workshops that I do, where we just kind of show you how to manifest and how to, we guide you through that process. And then my favorite thing that I love to talk about, now that I'm on this side of the spectrum, I have this. It's a new project called Becoming 40.
Okay.
And it is a rites of passage program and ceremony that guides people, guides feminine souls particularly, through transitioning from their 30s into their 40s. We don't do midlife crises over here.
Mm-mm.
We show you how to fully embrace turning 40 and loving it. There's, without the trepidation, without the sense of panic and all those other things that tend to creep up as you approach that new decade.
Yeah.
And so that is like by far my favorite thing at the moment that we're curating on this end. And so in terms of reaching out, getting in touch with me, there's a couple of different ways they can do that. I just finished migrating the website over to a new platform.
Okay.
So everything is still kind of, it's still settling. But the new web address is www.good-girl, that's GYRRL.com. So good-girl.com. And you'll be able to email me info@good-girl.com. as well. And you can also find me on Facebook through Good Girl, GoodGyrl. So that's facebook.com/Good Girl. And Instagram, same thing, Instagram.com/Good Girl, all one word. And if you're looking for some aromatherapy, you can go to my.doterra, DOTERRA.com/Good Girl, all one word.
That is so wonderful, and I know we've sat for hours sometime in talking, and we could actually sit here and do that now. And what comes to mind for me is just how generous you are with your skills and how you keep expanding them and how you keep nurturing those around you to do the same. And I just want to acknowledge you for that and thank you for being that goddess and queen to so many people.
Thank you
it's
so
really
much.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yes, I would definitely say, especially in light of Mother's Day coming up, I am definitely a proud mother, in the sense that with the years of doing all of this work,
yeah,
there are now so many mini me's. Whether we know each other or not, but there are so many people who are now doing this work and embracing this work.
That's right.
So it's been so beautiful just to watch this whole thing evolve from me being the first and the only person doing this work in this particular region to now being able to look everywhere and see people embracing and doing this work, especially like my mentees. It just really nurturing them and loving on them and watching them grow. So it's just been such a beautiful journey and a beautiful experience. And I've met some amazing people along the way. And I look forward to, many more years of being able to do the same.
That is wonderful. And, I just want to thank everyone, too, for listening to us tonight and for joining us here with Relana. And I would really suggest that you, participate with her and just find different aspects of yourself, discover something new about yourself in that, And then, of course, come back next week. We're going to be talking about prayer and change, and that'll be a great subject. And you can go to our Facebook page, Patiently Waiting for Nothing, and you will find the replay of this. You can share it with other people once we post it. And you can engage with us there. You can send any email through or message through that site as well. And I am so glad that you were able to spend some time, and I hope that you have really enjoyed yourself. And until we meet again, peace. All is well, all is well. The divine source of the universe guides my life and all my resources. All is well, all is well. The divine source of the universe.